In this video, we're going to talk about EventKoi's list view. This is a list of events that you can display on your website. Here's how it looks on our EventKoi calendar examples page. In this case, it shows that there are two events, Quiet Reading Afternoons and Sky Sprint Youth Camp. You're able to see the description of the event as well as the location. On the right-hand side, you'll also see when the event is running. If you click on the time zone, you'll see some options. You can change between 12-hour and 24-hour clocks. So this changes the time to 2000. Let's change it back to 12 hours. And you can also change the time zone. So if we change it to the site default, you'll see that the time has changed from 8 AM to what it previously was, 8 PM. Clicking on the link or on the image takes you into the event itself. At the bottom of the list, you'll see pagination. In this case, because there are only two events, you'll see the end of the list message, which is, you've reached the end of the list. Now let's go to a demo website to see how we can create our own event list and add it to our site. Here we are in a newly created page in our demo site. Here, we're going to learn the first way that you can add an event list to your page, which is using the EK event query loop. So now we've just added it to our page. And let's open up the list view and expand the event query loop to see what we have going on. EventKoi's event query loop block is a variation of the WordPress core event query loop block. This means that we've used the same underlying architecture and just adapted it slightly for our own needs. As you can see, the individual elements that make up the event query loop block are the featured image and event data blocks, which can display title, excerpt, date and time, location, image, and custom fields. If you look to our right, you'll see the query settings. So we can change up how many events we have per page and order by event start date, publish date, and more. We can also change up the order direction, select specific calendars to display, as well as select the start date and end date if we want to only show events happening during a specific time frame. Finally, we can also opt to include recurring instances. Aside from these query settings, we also have layout and design settings. So this is where you can choose between a list or a grid layout. Or if you're on a list layout, you can choose whether you want to have a single column stacked with the image on the left or the image on the right. And you can also change the text, color, size, and more. So now you know how to add, filter, and customize the event query loop block so that you can add an event list to your website. Now let's say that you don't want to use the block and you want to use shortcodes instead. Here's how you can do that. First, head to Events and then Calendars. For this example, I'll just use the default calendar. Over here, you can see the calendar settings. So we're going to scroll down and go to Default Calendar Display and select List. We can always change this back to the calendar, but for now, in order to create the shortcode, we're going to set this to List first. Next, we want to set up our filters. So we'll sort by upcoming events only and in ascending order. And we want 5 events per page with a maximum of 10 results. We can set the start date and end date, but we'll leave that for now and leave it as pagination instead of infinite scroll. Finally, we have the option to expand recurring instances so that each instance shows up in the event list, or we can turn that off and we only have the overarching event showing up in the event list. Okay, if I'm happy with how all of this looks, I'm going to go to Embed. Here, you'll see that the shortcode has already been built for you based on the settings that you have chosen over here. So in the Embed tab, you can copy the shortcode and use it wherever you like. The downside of using the shortcode is that you don't have as much refined control over the design of the events list. Having said that, it's still a really powerful and flexible way for you to add the events list anywhere you want on your site. Finally, the last way that you can add an event list to your site is using your page builder. In this example, we're using Beaver Builder, but we're also going to build the same features into Elementor, Bricks, and Divi. With Beaver Builder, we're going to go in and edit a theme layout, launch Beaver Builder. Okay, and now we're going to add Beaver Builder's loop module. Okay, so we've added the loop module, and now we're going to change the content tab. So in the source, we're going to select custom query, and it's selected post for me as a default, but I'm going to delete that and select events. We also have the option to filter based on certain options like events and event calendars. And right at the bottom, we've got the option to filter between timeframes as well, and whether or not we want to include recurring instances. And because all of this is built natively into Beaver Builder and we've hooked into Beaver Builder's loop module, it means that you have the flexibility to style and customize each image and text however you want. It means you can use Beaver Builder or your own page builder in the way that you are already using it, and everything should work natively. And that's it. This is how you can add an EventKoi events list to your page, whether that's using the block editor, shortcodes, or your own page builder.